Greetings, opera lovers. It's Rona from Pittsburgh. Well, I watched my own clip on YouTube of my talk about Don Carlo from Salzburg, and I realized I left out more than I put in, and I would like to address that right now. There were so many things to talk about, I couldn't get them all in, and as I watched the little ticker on the bottom, the clock, I saw I was more than 10 minutes. So for anybody who was just interested in an overall opinion, they got it. But if anybody would like more specific, to hear more specific things about the opera, here goes. I didn't say anything about something that was really disappointing to me, and that was there were no simultaneous translations. I did notice that when the camera panned out in the beginning, you could see up on top little surtitles. I knew that there was a chance that there would be no translation, but I decided not to print up a libretto because how can you really watch an opera looking like this and trying to find your place? I know the story of Don Carlo very well, but I am not always sure what people are saying exactly when they're having long scenes, such as the scene between Philip and Rodrigo, or the trio between Rodrigo, Philip, and Elisabetta, and many other scenes. Even the scene between the Grand Inquisitor and Philip. I know in general what they're talking about, but I don't know specifically. So that was a little disappointing. It's hard to appreciate an opera in its fullest when you're not knowing what every word is. And even though surtitles do not give you a word-for-word translation, you're able to follow the story line by line. I also really did not say enough about the singing of Jonas Kaufmann and Anya Harteros. I heard them do this together in a production from Munich, and they were both excellent at that time. However, since that time, I believe Mr. Kaufmann is at the peak of his vocal abilities. I was a little afraid before this opera was brought before the public because I know he's singing everywhere and singing everything. And how good can that be for your voice? You need to rest. Your voice is a very precious instrument. But my God, was he great. His vocalism is tremendous. And one of my only itty-bitty complaints about him singing in the Italian repertoire is that I'm not a fan of those little sobs that tenors give. And I felt that he gave a little too many in former performances. In the feed that I heard, I don't remember being bothered by this at all. His voice was so rich. In fact, a few times when I looked away, I wasn't sure if it was actually him singing or whether all of a sudden Rodrigo had reappeared. His voice, as we know, is very baritonal in the lower register. However, his top notes, they have really gained in brightness, in my opinion. It just flowers and blooms on top now in a new ringy way. So I'm very excited and hopeful that he will add more big Verdi tenor roles to his repertoire. He already owns so many roles, such as Lohengrin, Parsifal, Werther. He's done a great job as Cavaradossi and many others. And I'm hoping maybe he'll do Otello. What do I know? And then we get to Miss Harteros, another singer who I had heard him pair with in Don Carlo. And I mentioned that she's not my ideal sound for a Verdi soprano. That still holds true. I really prefer to hear a sound that's warmer, that has more of an intense vibrato in the upper registers. But her voice is what it is. To me, it has sort of a white sound. I don't mean this in a bad way. I mean, it's sort of like just sharp, but it's very beautiful in the way it's presented to you. When she sang her final aria, Tu che le vanità, she did it with a really big flair for the tempo, for the rhythm. Now I don't know whether that was her idea or Mr. Papano's, but it was so declamative that I almost thought that she sang it wrong. But when she repeated it, I knew she was doing it that way on purpose, really dotting the eighth notes or quarter notes, whatever they are, and really making the short notes shorter, the long notes longer. It added a great deal to the overall drama of the piece. After she finishes singing her aria and Jonas Kaufmann comes back, the two of them sang so magnificently. It was really a thrill to hear this kind of singing. Another thing I'd like to mention that I had forgotten to comment on was the auto da fe scene. This is really a great moment in the opera because the personal drama stops and the political drama, the religious drama comes into play. And here it was so bland that please don't strike me down, whoever's up there. I almost hoped that it had been a Eurotrash production instead. I mean, so nothing. The rear wall, the scenery, was just a blank slate. Within the middle, a kind of a square, and in the square was the shape of a triptych that was opened, and there was a projection of a blue sky with clouds. And then they put the heretics around a pole, and then fire came up, poof, that was it. There was just no feeling of anything. Now, some people complained about some of the costuming, and as I said in my first talk, that although it was mentioned that these were historical costumes, didn't look that way to me for the people who were in the chorus. Later, when the chorus comes in this scene, all the women are wearing black, and I think it was all the same dress. It was just awful. I mean, come on. This is grand opera. Make it grand. Another thing that was interesting is that I had forgotten that Salzburg is kind of a large theater and not one of those intimate little festival theaters that we think of when we think of European festivals such as Bayreuth, which is kind of small, Glyndebourne. There are others, Wexford. And so this was really a chance to have a very grand experience, and how great that they had the Vienna Philharmonic and the Vienna State Chorus, or whatever they're called. These are two of the top groups that you could get to do an opera with. And so because the combination of the staging and the direction was so lacking for me as an audience member, I actually felt cheated. Here you had so many great resources on one stage, and yet you walked away with so little. Okay, I think I've covered just about everything that I forgot to cover in the first. So I'm waiting for the Met HD season, and I'm really hoping, I don't know whether I can make it, to hear my friend Andre Nemser make his debut at the Met in Die Frau ohne Schatten. It's a scheduling conflict. I also work on weekends, and my husband works during the week, so we have to figure this out. But we are looking forward to, I think the season starts with Eugene Onegin, one of my very favorite operas. Okay, I know I say that a lot, but Eugene Onegin really is one of my very favorite operas. And it's going to be starring several of my favorite singers. So I'm looking forward to that, and then many other operas. And we're doing Aida here in Pittsburgh. Isn't that great? Another grand opera by Verdi. Okay, everyone, have a great day.